Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys Football. We're continuing to look at some of the bigger games in the Week 0 and Week 1 college football slate. We're taking a look at Arkansas, Cincinnati going to Fayetteville, Arkansas on the road. This is going to be a really, really big game, and I have a strong take. I have a strong pick for the people. Before we get into that, I just wanted to say thank you guys for all the support you guys have shown the channel. We love talking ball, game previews, some betting. We appreciate you guys enjoying the videos. If you do like the videos, consider subscribing, liking the videos. That supports the channel a lot. We appreciate you guys for doing that. Dill, let's start talking. I'm going to kick it to you. What are your overarching takes on this game here?
I think my broad opinion is how exactly is Cincinnati going to replace the talent they just lost the draft? I mean, those non-Power 5 teams, and I know Cincinnati's headed to the Big 12 next year, and that I'm really excited for that because I think that program's good enough where they deserve to have the opportunity to recruit at the level they should. But I'm worried that as that non-Power 5 team that they have the depth to fill 7 to 10 legitimate professionals.
Yeah, that's the big question about Cincinnati is how well they can replace. And they do have some guys I'm very excited about. But I kind of agree with you. Outside of returning all 5 offensive linemen, they lose a ton of contributors and guys who are so important to that team, starting with Desmond Ridder, NFL draft pick, one of the more winning college football players we've seen in the last decade. It's a lot of guys to replace. And you're starting your season Week 1 with a lot of guys who haven't played a lot of football on the road against one of the more rowdy environments in the country. What I want to talk a little bit about is how this Cincinnati offense looks against an Arkansas defense. That was pretty good last year. I expect them to be very good this year. But Dill, Evan Prater comes in, hasn't played a real snap of meaningful football. He came in a little bit last year. He's going to be I hope that they start Evan Prater. I think he's a really talented guy. I don't like the idea of throwing him in the fire, but he is the future of the program. He should be playing Week 1. But he's going on the road against an SEC team that's very, very rowdy. There's a lot of buzz around the program. Doesn't have many returning guys around him as playmakers. Jerome Ford, the NFL, Alec Pish, the NFL. How are they going to score any points?
That's kind of the issue. And they lost some of their big playmakers, like a Matt Pierce, who was the guy who was catching deep passes. Like, they have tight ends who are returning and who I think can play football. Yeah. But I think they're going to need to hit a couple like 60-plus yard touchdowns or some plays like that. I don't know. I don't think they can get out of the running backs, and I'm not 100% sure who's going to be able to do it for them at wideouts. So that's probably the inherent concern is like they're probably going to have to be marching the football down the field, and you saw how hard it was for them last year to do that against Alabama. And I think with a less talented offense, a quarterback who's not even – I don't want to say he's not in the league of Desmond Ridder, but Desmond Ridder was awesome, and they still struggled. So that's probably, again, if you can't hit those big plays, it's going to be hard for Cincinnati to march on them.
Yeah, I very much agree with that. And to echo that, Alec Pierce was such a big explosive play guy for that Cincinnati offense last year. Going back and doing that 2022 team preview for them, he was so important to that offense. Jerome Ford was very important, and then obviously Desmond Ridder. There's just a lot of questions there. Let's talk a little bit about the Arkansas offense, which I'm pretty high on. I mean, this is a team at Arkansas that I really like coming into the year. Going up against the Cincinnati defense that you mentioned the talent that they lost, a lot of it's on the defense side of the ball at really important positions. Mijai Sanders, Beavers, Ahmad Sauce Gardner, and then they had a safety who was really, really good too. Like they lose a lot of guys who are really, really good football players. How do you think that kind of plays out?
Yeah, and that's tough. And you got a team in Arkansas who, they're losing some pieces, headlined by Traylon Burks, who I don't want to minimize his loss because he did a lot for that team. If you watched, I get having a number 1 receiver, but he was like a number 1 and a number 2 almost. Like just nobody else is really catching a ton of balls on that team. I do like that they're bringing Hazelwood in for sure from Oklahoma. I think he's got some talent that's yet to be tapped. But at the end of the day, when you're getting back a guy of KJ Jefferson's ilk and who is kind of a stud, I think that offense is going to be good enough to not get like stagnated by a defense that I'm not sure is going to be what it was last year.
Yeah, and KJ Jefferson, I might add, was a lot of people dub him as just like a runner. Like, yes, he's a bigger than a linebacker. He was one of the more efficient passers in the country last year as well. Like, he got it done through the air. What I think this offense will look like is much less reliant on a single producer like Treylon Burks. They have some guys that I really like. I think it's going to be more of a committee. Now, Jaden Hazelwood can fill even 75% of the shoes that Treylon Burks can, which I think he has the talent too. That would be huge for Arkansas. But I do think they got Trey Knox at tight end I really like, Tron Jackson. They have some guys that I really, really like on the perimeter that I think will step up as a committee. It'll be a joint effort to kind of replace that Treylon Burks productivity. I don't think it'll come from one guy, and I really like two sets of running backs that they have too. And to be quite frank, a front seven that was decimated by the NFL draft, losing guys like Beavers, Mijai Sanders. I think Arkansas is going to be able to establish the run a little bit.
Yeah, and that's one thing you did see is Arkansas could run on people. I think they're very tough, especially in the inside of their interior offensive line, where I don't know that you think Cincinnati's going to be super strong there, plus they're losing some linebackers. So I do like that, and I like Kendall Briles. I think he did an excellent job with KJ Jefferson in moving him forward to being kind of a guy who, yeah, you just like looking at a pro prospect, I think. And so I don't know. At the end of the day, I just think it's just a tough year for Cincinnati to get this Arkansas team. Just losing what they lost.
Because it sounds like I'm so down on Cincinnati. I'm not down on them. I think they have a very good shot at winning the conference and putting together a very strong season. Like, this team is still very good. They're just going up against a team that I'm very high on the road with a first start of a young quarterback. It's just the cards are stacked up against them. It sounds like we both like Arkansas. Now the question is, for folks who are interested, does Arkansas cover 7 points? And I love this pick. I really do think that Arkansas can pour it on. I'm not saying they'll blow them out by 3-4 scores. I do think this game will be more than a touchdown difference, just because I think Arkansas will run the football very well against them. That was one part that Cincinnati struggled with. They did not stop the run very well last year, 62nd nationally, which in comparison to other stats is not great. And Cincinnati forced 12. They were plus 12 in turnover margin last year. So they relied a lot on turnovers. Arkansas doesn't turn the ball over. KJ Jefferson threw only 4 interceptions last year. I love the matchup. I love the fit. And I love the spot here. I think Arkansas covers 7.
Yeah, no, I'm with it. And at home in a Fayetteville, that I think that program's back engaged. Those fans are back excited, as they should be. It's getting really good there. So I imagine it's going to be rocking. And yeah, I just think Arkansas is too talented. And I'm kind of with you on, like, I'm not trying to dump on Cincinnati because I actually love the direction the program's going. I think if they can keep Luke Fickell going to the Big 12, I certainly think they can start really making some noise and getting more competitive on the national stage. And they're there now for sure. But, like, I think being in the Power 5, allowing Luke Fickell, to recruit guys and say, all right, look, you're going to play more NFL talent, more games to show yourself. I think they're going to look really good. I just think they're a couple years away from that, just because these non-Power 5 teams aren't designed to lose 10 professionals in 1 year.
Yeah, what I want to close on is, if this bet doesn't hit, you're going to hear a lot of Evan Prater talk. If he starts and goes on the road and beats Arkansas in his first career start. Because, I like this kid. I think he's really talented, and I think he can be another awesome. I think he can be another Cincinnati great. I just don't know if it's happening week 1 against an Arkansas team that, yeah, they don't beat the Bamas, the Georgias, but they beat pretty much everyone else last year. Like, they are a very consistent team. They don't drop games that they shouldn't drop. Sam Pittman has a very, very solid team the last 2 years. Yeah, guys, I like this pick a lot. Let us know in the comment section who your take is. Again, love chopping it up about odds and gambling. I love that stuff. Appreciate you guys checking us out, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.